Welcome, future millionaires. My name is Nate Barger, and I am here to give you the roadmap on how to become a millionaire in 5 years. Now, I know you're saying, Nate, I need to know how to do loans with the banks and need to know how they underwrite them and how to present to them. And man, my debt to income ratio is too high. I can't get around. Interest rates are too high. I can't find construction crews. I can't find deals. I'm going to show you all of that. Why am I qualified to do that? Because I've bought, sold, and bird as an owner, not as a broker, not as an agent. I've never done any of that. I've always been an owner on every property I've done. Over $500 million worth of real estate. I started off right where you guys are at. 0 properties, or maybe you got 10 or 20, but you don't know how to scale. I got you covered, man. Everything that I've learned over my almost 20 years of doing real estate, including doing it wrong for many years. Most people do real estate wrong. They think you're doing it for cash flow. That can't be farther from the truth, and I'm going to break that down. I know that's hard for you to believe, but if you give me 60 minutes, it'd be less than 60 minutes of your time. Put the clock up here, man. I don't even need 60 minutes of your time. You are going to learn more about real estate in these 60 minutes than you have in your entire life. Many people that I've mentored have told me, like, Nate, I've been doing real estate 15, 20 years. I never knew that. Why is that? Because they've just been doing it wrong. They're taught to do it a certain way. They just do it that way. See, I wasn't taught to do it anyway. I figured out how to do it building from the bottom up. And the same strategy that I do today, I'm going to show you guys how I was able to go from buying single family homes to this hotel right here. This is the before, this is the after. Bought this for $8 million. It's worth $20 million now. So the same strategy that I'm going to show you how to do buying single family homes. One of my first homes I bought was I think $6,000 in the hood. Today that house is probably still only worth $5,000 or $6,000, and I put $30,000 in it. Why was that? Because I thought I was going to buy a cheap house that had good cash flow. And I'm going to help you avoid the same mistakes that I made. And I'm going to fast forward your learning curve 10, 20 years. So you guys ready to get started? All right. Well, thank you again for your time. Let's jump right in right here. This is the 5-year roadmap that I created to show people how to do the BRRRR method and how you can retire in 5 years or less. And this is it right here. All I'm asking you to do to retire a multi-millionaire is learn the BRRRR method. And I'm going to show you what the BRRRR method is later on. And we're going to talk about why that's better than wholesaling, why that's better than flipping, why that's better than subject to. All those things have their own disadvantages to them. The biggest one is that you're not in control of building your wealth. So flipping, you just have a job. And I'm going to break the numbers down. I don't like to just tell you guys something. I like to show you the numbers and then let you pick for yourself. Subject to, I mean, you're not even in control of the property, man. Let's say, you've held on to that property for 3 years. You overpaid for it because you got a lower interest rate. Now the property still ain't worth what you paid for it. But there's let's say the owners, they got restless and they said, hey, don't worry about it. We're never going to get another property. You won't have to get this mortgage out of our name. Well, let's say the guy and the woman, they got a divorce, or they just decided, you know what, we need another house. They go to the bank. The bank says, hey, man, you got this other mortgage, and we can't qualify you with this. They call the mortgage company up and say, hey, man, look, I don't have that house anymore. And they said, what do you mean you don't have it? They said, dude, I deeded it over to some guy years ago. And then there's a due on sale clause, right? They don't tell you about that. What's that do for you? Now that person, if you did a subject to, all of a sudden, you're smacked down. I like to teach you methods that are tried and true that I've used to buy hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate. So this is it. This is simple. I've had people that I mentor become millionaires using this method in as little as 7 months. Now, what I tell people is, look, you don't even have to do a lot of properties, because I had a guy who I was mentoring and he thought he was going to have to do 4 properties a month. I'm like, dude, what the heck are you thinking? You don't have to do that. Do 2 properties the first year. 4 the second, then 6 the third, then 8 the fourth, then 10 the 5th year. You're retired the rest of your life. You never have to work again. You're going to have over $12,000 a month in passive income. you're going to have $3,000 to $4,000 a month in principal reduction, which if you don't know what that is, I'm going to explain that to you. And you'll have over $20,000 a month in appreciation. There's a lot of stuff that you got to learn, but I can show it all to you. So let's jump on in here. These two properties that you bought, and what we're going to use is, we're just going to use some round values. Really what it comes down to is percentages. What we want to be all in is maximum 75% ARV, after repair value. So in order to get the after repair value, you have to know how to go and comp out the properties, which we'll go into more of that later. Just need you to follow me. We're going to use $100,000 as an acquisition price. And for those of you on the West Coast, East Coast saying I can't get it for that, it doesn't matter. Then use $500,000. Just use a multiplier. It's all the same. It's all math is math. We're going to use $100,000 for round easy math as acquisition. $50,000 for renovation costs. But now what we've done through the renovation is we've been able to push the value to $200,000. Now we knew we were going to be able to do that in the beginning. And I have a whole nother teaching, whole nother spreadsheet, which I'll give you a brief overview of, one that we actually did right here. This property here, we did the comps over here. And if you want this at the end of this video, this is a whole nother training that I can take you through. Watch to the end and I'll give you accesses as well, okay? So this property here, we knew it was worth $259, and I'm going to show you how to comp out properties. We knew it could rent for $2,200 a month. We knew it was worth that because here's 3 sales that happened in that same neighborhood. We knew the bank was going to give us we knew that the bank would give us 75% at 6.5 years on a 30-year AM. So we knew that our maximum purchase and renovation had to be $194, which is 75% of the $259. Then we had to go over here and put this into the maker's schedule, which this is modified adjusted cost recovery system, which we do a whole deep dive on this, because this is really where you get a lot of tax advantages doing this stuff. This is why I don't like to buy properties that are already renovated or as is, not as is, but move-in ready, because you don't know the age of any of this stuff. And then you also get a huge tax incentive if you qualify as a real estate professional for this, which you're not going to get if you're buying a property that's already put together. So 194 was the max all in, 46,278, which we broke out over here in our construction costs. And again, this is something that I teach high level, exactly how much you should be paying for windows, what vendors you should be using, how much is your plumbing installed, your HVAC, how do you properly budget for capital repairs. This is step by step what I teach people when I mentor them. But I'm going to break this video down for you at the end of this, and I'm going to give you another link to this video where I go a little bit deeper into this. So here's your closing cost, your holding cost, utilities while vacant, your lease up fee, your grass cutting fee while vacant. Now, this is why vacant, while you're renovating it. Your insurance while vacant, property taxes while vacant, your contingency on construction, 20% is what we like to use on something like this. So our total cost of renovation, hard costs, which are these here, and soft costs, which are, your closing costs and everything else I just mentioned, comes up to $63,634. So we know our max offer on this property is $131,292. We got it under contract at $85,000, actually closed at $85,000, which means that when we got the property up, renovated, stabilized, we were able to go and get the $2,200 rent. We were able to go back and get all our money back plus $46,292. Yes, all of our money plus $46,000 back. That's why I love the BRRRR. On top of that, you know what? I'm gonna go into this deeper later. This is all of our expenses, and then you got to hit a 1.2 debt service coverage ratio. This stuff here, like I said, I'm gonna go into later. But assuming that you can do that 2 times in the first year, these properties are gonna be all in for $150 a piece. That's $300,000. We identify areas that go up in value at least 5.5% a year. Now you may say, Nate, how do you do that? Well, I have a proprietary method that I teach using analytical data. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pull a market report over here. So here's what we're going to do. We look at analytical data when we're doing this. We look at vacancy rates, stabilized vacancy. Let's just go to the city I'm in right here. I'm going to go to Cincinnati. You know what? I'm going to go to the actual zip code this is in, 45237, I believe. I believe that's in 37, maybe 38. Okay, so 7.2% vacancy, but really only a 5.7% vacancy. A vacancy rate of 7.2 means that there's new inventory coming in that hasn't been stabilized yet. My average asking rent, $1,258. Of course, ours is a house, so it's going to be higher. These are mainly apartments. Our annual rent growth, 2.8, close to 3%. Under construction, let's just go over here real quick. Market cap. So what I want to do is look at what's being absorbed. So there's been 3,848 units that got delivered. About 2,000 of them got absorbed, so about half of them. So that means it's going to take 2 years to absorb those units. There's another 4,600, so that's going to be coming out over the next 3 years. So we got about 8,000 units, which is about 3 to 4 years worth of supply. But these ones that are under construction are going to take another 3 years to come out. So we got a healthy balance there. But we know that the cost to build new cost way more than existing inventory. Why is that? Look at this chart right here. For those of you that are waiting for a housing correction, waiting for prices to come down, they rarely, if ever, come down. This is the last recession where you guys are waiting for right here. Look at this, man. Look at this on the chart. Come on, man. You guys are waiting for this to happen. Come on, man. And I'm going to show you how you can predict if this is going to happen again. But look at this. This is crazy that you think this is the thing that's going to save your life. It's not. It's learning how to buy right, learning what areas to buy in, learning how to do the construction, learning how to find deals. We'll go through all that. But let's say this was to happen again. Let me show you what chart you want to look for down here. This is all stuff that I teach people, man. Like, we go in depth on this. And when you become an expert on this, you're not guessing at buying real estate like most people. You know exactly what you're doing. Look at this here. You see this here? We have a 6.6% rental vacancy rate in the U.S. That's the bottom right here. That's Q1 2024. Homeowner vacancy rate is 0.8, less than 1%. Let's see in the Great Recession what it was. 11.1% vacant for apartment. Of course they was going into foreclosure. And then let's see where houses creeped up to. 2.9, almost 3 out of every 100 houses was vacant. We are not overbuilt like we were back then. We were way overbuilt. And that chart, if you look at this chart here, you can spot it. Watch this here. It started coming up. 2006, 2007, 2008, it busted, right? Boom. That's when you had peak. And then all the buildings stopped. Population didn't stop growing, though. So what happened when the population didn't stop growing? The demand did not stop growing because the population didn't stop growing. When you start to understand that this is a gigantic math problem and you underwrite your area, you can become very wealthy. The money is not in the cash flow. The money is in buying right. Look at this. Let's say you would have bought for $221 in 2011. Look at this. And in 2021, it's worth $395. That's $184,000. Look at this here. Let's just do the math real quick. That's $184,000. You know what? Let me go up here and do it. I got a calculator up here. That's $184,000. Divide that by 120 months. So how many months are in 10 years? That's $1,500 every month you're getting. This is where the wealth is made. There's so many people out here focusing on 200, 300. Let me jump back in here. I'm going to put this all the way together for you guys, man. I need you to wrap your brain around this. And I'm going to show you why this happens here. Okay? I'm going to show you why this happens. Those properties you bought for 300 are worth 504. They've appreciated for 5 years. Now, next year, these properties that you bought for 150 times 4 of them, that's 600,000. They went up to 947. They appreciated not for the full 5 years like these, but for 4 years. Then the next year you bought 6 of them. You're all in for 150,000, which is 900. Now you got 1.355, meaning you created 455,000 in equity, just boom, just like that. The next year here you had 8 at 150. That's 1.2 million, or worth 1.72, because these only appreciated for year 4 and year 5. And then last of all, you had 10 homes at $1.5 million that appreciated. And, are you guys starting to understand how wealth is made? It's from appreciation. Through the appreciation and pushing the rents up, you're able to go borrow more money. As you borrow this money, and so many people, they stay poor their whole life, and right when they're in their 50s, they're like, they want to pay off their debt. And paying off debt is what poor people do in middle class. And I'm sorry, I don't want to mean to offend you. Wealthy people don't pay off debt. They get more debt. Because why? They don't want any income. So poor middle class, they want income. When you have income, you got to pay income tax. When you go and you have assets that go up in value and you can borrow and extract more money out of them, all that money you pull out, the tenants pay. You're not paying that money back. It's an expense. That new higher mortgage that you got is an expense that then knocks your income down, but now you're able to cash out millions of dollars that you don't have to pay taxes on. This is the way the game works, man. And I'm telling you, the biggest cash out refi I've ever done was $12 million. So I know how to do this stuff, perfect it. And later on, I will show you. Now, I'm not telling you buy a property that doesn't have cash flow. Yes, all our properties have cash flow. But what I'm telling you is that's not what's going to make you wealthy. That's not the number one thing you should be looking for. So at the end of these 5 years, you got 30 homes. You borrowed $4.5 million. They were worth $6 million when you bought them. Your monthly cash flow, your total monthly cash flow, this before debt and expenses, was $52.5. Or before your debt was $52.5. But let's jump over here. So these properties after 5 years that you bought for $4.5 million are worth 6.574 because they've been appreciating, because you bought them in the right area, because you use Nate Barger's BAR method, buy appreciating assets. And now listen, I'm here to tell you right now, I cannot tell you for sure what's going to happen in the future, but we can forecast using real data, just like Warren Buffett does, just like all the stock guys that buy stock, and just like BlackRock. I'm going to give you the same set of tools and data to buy that they use, a lot of this stuff. So this property's worth 6.574. Remember, we borrowed 4.5. We only owe 4.4. Now we're going to go borrow the 75% of the new value, which is 4.93. We're going to pay off our 4.4, leaving us with $528,000 in cash. On top of that, we got $12,000 to $14,000 a month in cash flow every month for the rest of our life. You can essentially retire at this point, and you're paying little to no money and taxes on that money, because I got to go deeper with you guys. I mean, I know you can't comprehend that yet, but there's things called bonus depreciation, accelerated depreciation, straight line depreciation. There's benefits to owning real estate that only people in real estate get. You have to be classified as a real estate professional to get a lot of this, but real estate professionals have a whole different tax code than everybody else in the United States. It's crazy. They don't teach you this in school. Why? Because they want you out there working. Now, here's where you really make money. Do the same thing. You never have to buy another property. Those 5 years, you worked your butt off to get these 5 properties stabilized. You got $500,000 cash out. Well, you might be saying, Nate, how am I going to pull out $500,000 cash more? Because I already told you you're going to raise your rent every year. How are you going to raise your rent? Because you bought in the right area. There's more demand coming in. There's better jobs. People have to build new houses there to meet demand. The cost to build is going to be way higher than what you're getting. And I'm going to show you in a separate video on how to pick those areas, how to define those areas, and how to get these deals off market. But I just need you to comprehend and understand this part right here. At the end of year 10, you've been out traveling the world, making 12, 13, 14. You started off making $12,000 a month. But by year 5, which would be year 10, it's up to about $17,000, $18,000 a month. Because as your rents go up, You know what doesn't go up? Your mortgage. It's fixed. You're getting a 5 or a 7 year fixed mortgage for your principal and interest. You're also paying down the loan every time you make a payment. Your net worth is growing $3,000 to $4,000 every month. Imagine that. And you're taught to go do a match in 401k. On top of that, now that you own $6.5 million worth of property, that property's going up in value every single month. Let's just see what that looks like. 5% appreciation on 6.5 million means that the next 5 years you own this, year 1 through 5, you worked on accumulating these. Years 6 through 10, you went out and lived off that $12,000 a month. Then next year it's 13,000, then 14, then 15, then 16. Every year it grows. That's a month. Every month. How many of you guys, by show of hand, can live off of that? I can, and I look pretty good. I mean, it costs me a little bit more not to live, but that's because I make a lot of money. I've done a lot of deals, but I could live off of 12,000. I could live good off of that. Now these properties worth 8.39 million. What are you going to do? Many people are going to say, well, I'm just going to work my butt off to pay down this debt. Why? You paying down worthless debt. Let me show you something here. $10 million in 2024. If you can get 5.5%, 10 million in 2024 is going to be worth 50 million in 2054. What does that tell you? The money is doing what? This is your property. You got 10 million in property. It's going to go up to 50 million in value at 5.5% appreciation. What's happening to the value of the dollar though? Let's go over here and see. Look at this. Look at this. They're printing more money. As they print more money, what do you think happens to the value of the dollar? It goes down in time. That's what's really happened, everybody. Look. Right here, if you look, this one we came off the gold standard right here. The gold, our dollar used to be pegged to the gold standard. It's not pegged to anything anymore. That's a whole nother, man, we could go down a rabbit hole with that. But look, we didn't have a lot of inflation when it was tied to gold, but when it came off the gold standard, they could just print more of it. What do you think is going to happen in the future? Yes, the value of real estate is going to continue to go up because everybody wants an increase in wage every year. Goods and materials are going to cost more. The government's going to continue to print more money. And as they do that, they cause the value of the dollar to be weakened. And then when everybody gets a raise, they cause everything to cost more. And when people go and qualify for a mortgage, you know how they qualify for a mortgage? They go in and they give them 35 to 42% of their income. So as their income goes up, they're able to afford more. As they're able to afford more, they're able to pay more for your property. You guys understand this stuff. You can get wealthy. Use it to your advantage instead of working hard. And let's look at construction costs over time. Look at this. Construction costs only go up. They only go up over time, guys. So if we know that our population is growing, we know that the government's printing more money over here. We know that rents are going to continue to go up. What does the government need to get out of debt? Let's see, they did it before. Look, we were about right here before, almost identical to where we're at right now. 2024, this chart's a little old, but look at this. What did the government do to get out of debt right here? Anybody got a clue? We've been here before, guys. Look, this chart looks similar. Look, it started coming backwards. What happened? You know what happened here? Inflation. The government, if they can create enough inflation, they can make this right here, our GDP, our gross domestic product, go up. This right here. If they make this go up, this is what they're gauging. Do you know that our GDP during COVID, the beginning of COVID was only like 22 trillion. Now it's 28.5 trillion. So yeah, our national, it's like, this is your income. This is the government's income right here. And it's like your income. If you got more income, you can go further in debt. That's what the government's doing. Imagine if you could create more income just by creating inflation. That's what the government does. They're not teaching you guys this stuff though, man. Why? Because they don't want you to own stuff like this. They want you working for them so they can own stuff like this. So let me run back through this one more time. High level. You're going to learn the BRRRR method: buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. You're not going to do flipping properties, because flipping properties don't make you wealthy. You see this right here? This property went up from $6 million in value to $8.3 million. You made $2.4 million. Imagine, and you made cash flow off of the properties too, okay? Now look, that's just an appreciation that you made. But let's just say you also pulled out cash on these properties. So you already pulled out year 5, you pulled out $528,000. Year 10, you went and pulled out 6.29. You paid off your 4.47. You pulled out 1.8 million in cash flow. I mean, you put out $1.8 million in cash. That's your money. You don't have to pay taxes on that. That's how you get wealthy. That's how I got wealthy. Tired of people out here saying you get wealthy off cash flow. Man, you know how many properties you would have to buy to get enough cash flow to retire? You don't. You go and you get debt and you buy assets that go up in value. You see the $750,000 what I put in here to recapitalize? Year 10, you're going to take $750,000 out of this $1.8 million. You're going to give it back to your properties. You're going to say, man, you guys did a good job. This is a bonus. Now you might be saying, Nate, why would you give your property a bonus? Because my property is going to need new refrigerators, new roofs. It's going to need some HVAC system. I'm going to put some new flooring in it, probably some new kitchen cabinets, granite countertops and some of them. But guess what happens when I do that? I push the value even more. When you learn this system, it's the unlimited money glitch. But this is 30 properties. You never have to do anymore. I got a couple thousand properties right now. You could do 30 and never have to work again. Let's say this guy here, you only owe 4.47 million. Keep this in mind. They're worth 8.3. So that's about $4 million right there. That's 3.9 million, right? In equity. 3.9 million in equity, plus your cash flow of, let's say, $12,000 a month times 60 months. That's another, $800,000-900,000. So you at 4.7 million. Plus, remember, there's 528,000. You can have made $5 million off these properties. Okay. Now, let's say you would have flipped them instead. You would have flipped these properties. They were worth $200,000. You sold them for $200,000. You paid realtor fees. You end up netting $37,000. Let's say you end up selling them for $200,000. You owed $150,000. You netted, you had to pay 6% realtor fees, another couple closing costs. You net $37,000 in property. Let's do the math real quick here. You netted $37,000 of property. Let me jump over here to my calculator. 37,000. And you did 30 of these properties, okay? That's 1.1 million, but you had to pay 30% in taxes. So you made 700,000 versus $5 million, man. That's why you don't flip properties. Unless say you did this over 5 years, divide this over 5 years, right? Man, that's 150 grand a year, but come on, you're no closer to retiring. You just had a high-paying job. If you want to retire and spend time with your kids, you want to travel the world, you want to create a philanthropy, you want to get back to your friends and family. And once you learn this knowledge, you can become wealthy too. What's holding you back? I've helped over 58 people become millionaires with this method. It's probably well over 100, but when I sampled it, I got 58 people out of the 25% of the people that I mentored to respond back. 58 of them had become millionaires. Over 60 of them had quit their job to pursue real estate full time. If you're struggling to grasp what you need to do, I want to break this down a little bit more for you. So I'm going to put a link down here in the bottom. I'm going to go in and create a whole separate training for you. I hope that what you get away from this here and it's only about 30 minutes, guys and girls, is that people who get debt get wealthy. People who don't get debt pay for the wealthy people's debt. Let me do one more thing and show you. That $200,000 property right here goes up 5% a year, 5.5%. And I showed you how to identify that, 1.0, 5.5%. This is what that property is worth year 2, at the end of year 1. Year 2 times 1.055, right? Year 3 times 1.055. Year 4 times 1.055. And at the end of year 5 times 1.055. Worth $261,000. You only borrowed $150. You've paid down the bank what's called principal reduction. You only owe about $142. You've raised the rent. What you're going to do is you're going to go borrow 75% of this. You want more debt. You never want to pay off debt, because at a certain point in time, when you start to get enough equity, you'll start to make cash flow. As you start to make cash flow, you start to make income. As you start to make income, you have to pay income tax. So if you go borrow more money, now you're pulling more cash out. Now you got more cash to go buy more real estate to do the same thing over and over and over again. You do not pay taxes on loans. This is the one thing that the wealthy people know. 75% of that is 196. Pay off your 142. Look at this. You're left with 54 grand. Let's say you did 30 of them. It's 1.6 million. Cash out refi. Cash out refi. No taxes on that. You might be saying, Nate, well, how am I going to pay the bank? Listen, you're not. The 10 of this. If this property went up in value, guess what else went up? The rent. So there's 261 times, because the only reason properties go up in value, watch this, is because there's more people in the area that need housing. Housing costs more to build. So as the higher income comes in the area, they're also willing to pay more rent. So there's 261 times 1.055 to the power of 5 more years, year 10, property's worth 341. You're going to go borrow 75% of it again. You just do it over and over. You're going to borrow 255. Remember, you borrowed 196. You only owe about 184 minus 184. Look at this here. That's 71,000 times 30. You already pulled out 1.6 million. Now you're pulling out another 2.1 million. And you continue to do this the rest of your life. And let's go look at the rents. Let's say the rents at 2,200 went up times a 1.055 to the power of, 10 years. We're looking at, let's say year 5. 2875. Now, that may not be realistic in every market, but that's why I got to show you guys how to dig in. And then if we go into this chart here, one of the things that I teach all my mentees, man, is really every month we go through, we download this chart, okay? We're going to look at who has the highest annual rent growth in the country. Okay, let's see what this is here. Wheeling, West Virginia, 46 units delivered. They got 124 million market value, 979 rent. Nah, that means that this place hasn't bounced back. That rent's too low. But let's look further. 46 units delivered, 27 got absorbed. 4.5% median household growth, which is good. But look, population's dropping. You're only getting job growth is 1.9%. That's pretty good. So now we want to go in and pull a market report and figure out what is driving Wheeling. What was their vacancy rate? Okay, their vacancy's good. Stabilized vacancy is good. Hot Springs, Arkansas, that looks good. But again, the rents are low. Norwich, Connecticut. Let's see over here. 4.1%. Norwich don't look bad. 222 units delivered, 240 absorbed, meaning that they're absorbing them quicker than they can build them. That's a good sign. Annual rent growth, 7.8%. That's fire right there.
So, you know, when you go in and you really learn how to read this data, this is where the money's at. And keep in mind, you don't have to be a rocket science to get wealthy. You just have to understand what areas to buy in, how to do the renovation, how much to pay for the renovation. And I got over 40 city groups across the country in my private mentorship that people go out and they meet up, they walk through properties, they network, they partner, they share vendors, share contractors, wholesale deals to each other, lend money to each other. It's everything that you need. Network there. I hope that this video was helpful. I'm trying to think in my mind if there's anything else I can tell you. There's so much I want to pour into you. But I am going to create another video. And this other video here, I'm going to break this down. That's an actual property that we did. How much should you pay for the property? You know, here goes an amortization schedule. We're going to go into that. We'll go into operating expenses. We'll go into Maker's modified adjusted cost recovery system. We'll go into our debt service coverage ratio, which is how to present to the bankers. And we'll go into your appreciation and what that looks like. See this property here going up 5% a year is worth 315 year 5, 403 year 10. But can we borrow more money? Remember, we need to maintain a 1.2 debt service coverage ratio. We started off with a 1.22 and it climbed. And then year 5, we went and did a refi at 75%, 6% interest. We were able to extract 54,000 cash out refi, and we still were able to maintain our debt service. So I'm gonna present this to you guys in this next video. Look forward to seeing you there. Love you guys, man. Hope this was helpful.